Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is episode number 72 of the Sports Consiglieres Podcast. My name is Jim Whalen. Along with me is my partner, my friend, my pal, the voice of Woodridge football. Hopefully, they're having a better season than the New York Giants, and also the girls' soccer coach going on his double-digit 10th year, Jerry Calla.
Jimmy,
Jerry,
what a build-up. What a
yeah.
build-up.
Well, I got to build something up because I was up late last night and I went to bed. My wife said, "What are you doing up so late?" I'm like, watching the Giants lose. So, uh, episode 72, I think we got to go with Doug Riesenberg, stay on the offensive line. So, what do you think about that for episode 72?
I was going to say OC Umanura.
Okay. All right.
I do. I did like Doug Riesenberg, but
Yeah.
at this
OC.
point, listen, I wish either one of them was playing.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, recapping the game last night, of course, the Giants couldn't get it done. The Chiefs won their first game on the road against the Giants. Are 1-7. I think in the Mara Dable Schoen era, where they're 18-35-1 after 4 years. A couple, it looks like Scatabo. He's built for New York. Had a nice game, 10 carries, 60 yards, and also caught the ball for I think 61 yards. So he was a bright spot. But let's hear your take on the game last night, Jerry, which is both New York teams are 0-6. So it's slowly
Well, I
closing
mean,
the door. Good.
here's the deal, and I pulled this up. If I would have told you before the game, the Giants would have had 130 rushing yards, and they would have averaged almost 4.6 yards a play. I would have felt pretty good about that, but it resulted in 19 first downs. They were 1 for 10 on third down, which has been an issue. They were 1 for 4 on fourth down, and it was a sloppy game. It was a bizarre game. They had 7 penalties, 2 interceptions thrown, which at the end of the day, the offense was just sputtering. Again, they found themselves without a kicker for a good portion of the game. There's some head scratching with that. But again, defensively, I know everybody is going to say, I think that's where we need to go. I mean, we were expecting a little bit better defensively. We were expecting a little bit better football. They're 0-3 for a lot of reasons. And a lot of the reasons aren't just Russell Wilson. It's been a culmination of play calling. They kind of reverted back to week 1. They allowed 306 total yards yesterday, over 100 yards rushing again. But on third down, Kansas City was 8 of 15. So, again, when we need stops, they're just not coming. And I thought so far just a microcosm of the season is Mahomes slips away from Alexander, the pride of Toledo. Basically, Carter should have wrapped him up, didn't do that. He heaves the ball, and Drew Phillips is called for pass interference, which culminates in 3 more points for Kansas City. And I think that's just been a microcosm of the season where you talk about this big defensive front and the fact that they're going to be one of the best in football. It's just not cutting it. I don't think it's for a lack of talent. I think there's some scheme issues. And I think the defensive coordinator's seat is even hotter than the head coach's. It was a sloppy game. Kansas City, yeah, they're 1-2 now. They look terrible. It was a brutal first half, and it was just what I would refer to as just a bizarre game. Some of the play calling, you didn't have a kicker for the first half. He must have been on some pain medication because after he made the field goal later in the game, he hunched over. So God only knows what his story is, but that's what killed them last year in the Washington game. They didn't have a kicker. I mean, the guy has groin issues. He's up there in age. Just scratch him. Deactivate him, scratch him for the day. I mean, it's just bizarre. And, now you have a situation. I thought Andrew Thomas played well. He was on a snap count. He played well. Now you basically have a guy that I told you is your third string tackle costing you, almost $6 million a year. At some point, we get on the show. This is week 3 now, right? We're on the show here, and we're talking about the same things happening. The same rooms not performing, and at some point, sooner than later, somebody has to not only answer for this, somebody has to be fired for this, and it's just abysmal football. I know last week we were seduced into Russ's 450 yards, and they should have won last week. They should have won last night. It didn't happen for a culmination of reasons. It's disappointing. Dable has just as many wins these last few years as he did his first year. It's unacceptable, and I feel zero confidence with the undefeated Chargers coming in next week at 1:00.
Well, I think he called it last week. He said it was going to be an ugly game, and it was. It was 9-6 at the half. Talking about Drew Phillips, they're analyzing the game. They said they probably should even better off just let him catching the ball, and they're going to run the clock out. So that cost them 3 points. I understand. I understand why
he had 3 penalties in the first half.
Yeah, well, they benched him, but it seemed like that was the weak link that they were going after. Every big play that they had, they went after Phillips. I don't know why they didn't go for 2. When they did on the Scatterboo run, why didn't you go for 2? They had the punter kick, which was horrible. Even in high school football, if they don't have a strong kicker, they go for 2, even if the scores 1. But I mean,
he kicked a line drive into the line of scrimmage, basically.
It was like a pinball, and then and of course, their kicker kicks the right upright and goes in. Tracy had started the game off night. He had 7 carries, 29 yards. He's hurt.
Yeah,
his status is unknown, so they might But Scatterboo picked up. He was definitely a shot in the arm someplace where they needed it. I just felt once that Kansas City got the coin toss that the game was in jeopardy. Russell Wilson struggled. He was 4 for 18. No TD passes. I mean, Thomas was on. You alluded to earlier. He was on a 25. Snap count, and Bo came off. There was a big drop off there. I thought Bo did well, but Karlaftis definitely took advantage of that. He had 4 QB hits. They signed Swayze Bowman off the street. He ends up starting. So middle linebacker is also an issue. Okereke getting stripped from Mahomes. I was looking on X this morning. Somebody alluded to your man Carl Banks, like, hey, would LT get the ball stripped out of there? No, that changed the whole complexity of the game. I think that he could have just fell on it or whatever else, but I mean that's Mahomes and the elusiveness. Both Alexander and Carter had him dead to rights in the backfield, but he had a way. He has a knack of just extending plays and just finding the open man. I mean, Mahomes is carrying his team. There's
absolutely
no doubt about it. But they're going to get better. Once they get Worthy back, and the other receiver comes back from suspension for 6 games, they're only going to get better. And then you're looking at the Chargers coming in on Thursday, who are 3-0. So you got to wait and see what happens there. So I don't know. I mean, what do you do with Dart? You throw him. There's calls for Dart. Do you have Russell Wilson? There's a couple ways you can go with this. Could you have him start the game, see what he does, or you can have Dart start the game, or you can have Dart be utilized in the second half? I mean, there's a lot of have Winston, because what Wilson showed you yesterday was really, really atrocious. I mean, the interceptions were bad, and then when they got to the red zone, I mean, those passes, I mean, they were horrible. I mean, it just, he's been a true professional his whole career, but I mean, it was just bad football. And Spagnuolo definitely put a top on so the deep ball wouldn't hit, but they didn't utilize their tight ends. They didn't have anything underneath.
Scatterbo was the leading receiver.
And they only had, and Neighbors only had 2 catches for 13 yards after a monster game. And then Robinson had 1 catch for 26 yards. But, it's just like there's no creativity. Even when you bring Dart in, everything is a run pass option. So why don't you just put him in there for a series and see what he could do? So it was a rough game to watch. And if you give Mahomes and also Andy Reid, you give him time, he's going to figure you out. And that's what they did. I think that they had him on the ropes early on, but they just didn't. They didn't deliver, and it cost them the game.
It was Jimmy. It's just brutal on a lot of different levels, and I think if you really look at it, right, when you talk about when you hear words in NFL locker rooms like culture and or the word organization, culture, program, what a head coach brings, the intangibles. Can you imagine? I'll name any. I'll name a guy from almost every era. Byron Hunt from the '80s, right? Carl Banks from the '90s, right? Jesse Armstead. We could keep going. Michael Brooks, Brad Van Pelt, right? Whoever you want to throw. Can you
Yeah.
imagine any of those guys losing a fumble to a quarterback? It wouldn't happen. And, again, Okereke was a little critical of Bowen last year, but I mean, Jesus, I mean,
Yeah.
that would have been huge right there. And, again, that's just when you see examples of why you're not winning games, that's it. Your the third pick in the first round, not being able to corral Mahomes, those are examples on why this team is 0-3. And again, if I'm Kansas City, I'm elated that I won the game. But again, Kansas City did not play a good, fundamentally sound football game. And, that's neither here for there. We're really talking about the Giants. The Okereke play, the Carter play, the fact that, you had no kicking game, the play calling stunk. Scadaboo's your leading receiver. Scadaboo's the only guy that poured any life. You have to listen, Spags. We had Spags. Spags is a Super Bowl caliber coordinator. He was a big part of the Coughlin years. You knew that he was not going to let Wilson throw the ball over the top to either Robinson or Neighbors. You have to be creative. Throw a screen to Neighbors. Do something. An end around. Get him to touch the ball in the first few snaps. It's brutal, and it's almost like I really wanted to come on the show today with like a bag over my head, because it's almost to the point now where it's just embarrassing football. It's embarrassing football. And to touch upon something you said, I don't think they're going to put Dart in, even though they're at home against the undefeated Chargers. But then again, do they want to throw Dart in, on the road the following week with the Saints? But at some point, you want to put him in to breathe some life into this lackluster, organization. But you don't want the guy getting killed either. And the offensive line, I love this. I was reading this yesterday morning before the game, how Joe Shane, Dable, a lot of the scouts, they love John Michael Schmitz. John Michael Schmidt's name of service is ranked 32 out of 32 in centers in the NFL. All right, so maybe one place that grades players does it a tad bit differently. Multiple platforms, he's ranked 32 out of 32. At some point, right, that's just not good enough. It is not good enough. And again, I'm not just picking on him. It's just not good enough. Now you have a linebacker that you dusted off Kansas City's practice squad, right? He's starting, right? I said this in the summer. McFadden was one guy. If you said in the summer, 5 guys that the Giants can't afford to lose for an extended period of time. After Thomas, McFadden is high on that list. And again, at some point, I know John Mara wants to be patient, all right, but at some point, right, somebody is going to pay for this. And, again, all right, you're 0-3, you go 0-4 to the Chargers. Let's say you do beat the Saints. That's not a given. It's in New Orleans, right? Now you come back, you have Philly. So now you're 1-4. Let's say if you do beat the Saints. Now you have Philly, the Broncos, right? That's 1-6. Then you have Philly again, second time in 3 weeks, right? 1-7. You have the 49ers who were energized yesterday. Maybe you take that one. Okay, 2-7, right? You don't win in Chicago. You're 2-8. Green Bay, Detroit, New England, the Commanders, the Vikings, the Raiders, the Cowboys. Are they winning more than 3 games? At this point, I just love them to win 1 game. And
Yeah,
it's just,
well, exactly.
and I don't want to hear at this point, and I know this is going to be, I don't think any Giant fan wants to hear this at this point about the schedule. We knew, all right, coming out, and we've talked about this, right? What if they're 0-3? Do you see them in week 4? If they're 0-4, do you see them in week 5? We're talking about Dart. They should be 2-1. They should be 2 wins, 1 loss, no matter what anybody says. This is a bad football team. This is a bad football team for a lot of reasons on both sides of the ball, and it's just not good enough. To win. I mean, I'm looking now. I mean, maybe did they go out to Vegas and beat the Raiders at the end of December? You got the Vikings come in here December. They're at the Pats. Chicago looked really good yesterday. The 49ers. I mean, at this point, I mean, do we win? I mean, if we don't beat the Saints, do we win a game?
Yeah, can you imagine that? They go 0-16. I don't know, but I mean, even with that, you still got a lot of 0-3 teams.
Got to be 0-17 now.
Yeah,
Even worse.
So yeah, 0-17, correct. But I also look at Dexter Lawrence. Look at the stats. I think he only had 1 tackle. And I watched the Jet game earlier. Quinnen Williams. Tampa Bay had the game in hand. Quinnen Williams, they're running the ball, just running the clock out. Quinnen Williams forced a lot of 3 and out for Tampa Bay, and they couldn't run the ball. He was a difference maker. But Dexter Lawrence, I mean, he's supposed to be this captain, all-world player. He hasn't done much. I mean, I don't want to hear he's double-teamed everything else. At some point, you got to make a play, or at some point, you got to energize something. I mean, what has he really done in his career? And what has he really done? And I think that you look at him, you look at Quinnen Williams. I would take Quinnen Williams over Lawrence. I mean, he just hasn't done much. I don't know if he's hurt or whatever else, but
by his own admission, he said that he wasn't cutting this, playing up to snuff in week 1 and week 2. He was promising things in week 3. I just think, Jimmy, there's a lot of talent on the back end, the front end. The middle right now is a little suspect with McFadden's injury. But on that defense, on that front end and back end, there's a lot of talent. And they're just not playing. They're not playing up to the level that they should be.
Yeah, there is. I mean, listen, Burns played well. I think he had 1 sack. I mean,
he had another sack.
But I mean, they were just inconsistent. When they had him trapped, Mahomes had his elusivity. He just got out and made the play, so it just killed him. And then a couple drop potential interceptions too. That was a bad thing. So I mean, yeah, and they got a couple gift calls. I thought that hold on Jones was that defensive hold was a gift, and then also the pass interference. So they had a couple of give penalty calls in their way, but they didn't capitalize on them. So it's just you got to get Neighbors the ball. I mean, there was no creativity on the offensive end. And
Zero.
And the defense, I think there was an avenue here to win the game. And Andy Reid's not going to let you take a game from me if you're not going to give it to him. He'll take it away from you, which he did yesterday. So it's just it's tough, and we have to wait and see what happens. So I don't know. And then they go into play another stud quarterback with the Chargers coming in. So and then also add insult to injury. Look at all the Giants that left. We talked about Barkley. Look at Daniel Jones. He has a 3-0. Hasn't thrown an interception. So I mean that stings.
And they punted like 1 time.
Yeah. So I mean, what's the difference here? I don't know. So I mean, it's just a weird time to be a Giant fan. We were looking at a lot of optimism, but I mean, basically, we're looking at how you can salvage the season. It's 0-3 is not where we were looking to be. So.
No, I mean, I think we've all talked about, in these first 4 games, if they could really come out 500, that would be ideal. But man, before that, I mean, we just want to see better football, and that's not even happening. So before we even get into the wins and losses, the football is just the football is just brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big X guy, but one guy that always catches my eye on Twitter, on X, is Lawrence Tynes, and he had the greatest line where he's late last night. He said, I'm trying to pull it up. I'll paraphrase until I pull it up. He said that a offense that doesn't get their best receiver to touch the ball until the fourth quarter is coaching malpractice. So again, at some point, right, it's almost like what Mike Tyson used to say, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So obviously, I'm sure Mike Kafka's intention was to come in and try to pump the ball down the field, right, to Neighbors and Robinson. And once basically Spags took them out of that, there was zero adjustments. So it's just very disappointing.
Well, when they had the one pass to Johnson ran for 10 yards. I mean, he looked like a man possessed. I mean, they didn't go to the tight end. So you could,
correct.
There could have been some creativity, but then I don't know. You start trading players now. I mean, they put Hyatt in the game. I guess this is his first.
Well, again, at this point, why not?
So
why not put Hyatt in?
Yeah, exactly. See what they could do. Really showcase them for for other teams. But what's your prediction for this weekend with Los Angeles?
I don't feel good, about the game at all. I really think, no matter what the players are going to say, that, I think Burns was the one. Oh, we're a different team than last year. The vibe is different. I'm tired of hearing that. We're tired of hearing a lot of things. You have to win games. But I think let's just take a step back. And I think that on our show, we've been the most, or I should say not the most, more level-headed about things. We just wanted to see good offensive football or better offensive football. Show us that progress is being made. What have we seen so far? You saw out of the first 3 games, Russell Wilson got hot against the Dallas team, that doesn't have Parsons anymore. And he had a good game. The other 2 games have been god awful.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. And another thing that I wanted to mention, and I was going to save this to the end, is what I really don't like. And I don't know why it irks me. It does, right? Is the way they use Dart now, right? He's your number 1 pick. And to put him in a play here, a play there, I just don't like that. Maybe I'm in the minority. I just don't like that, right? Like, this is the NFL. This is the NFL, right? I told you this in Dallas. Can you imagine when he had him, he put him in on what should have been the game-winning drive if he would have fumbled? Like, I think at this point, we're just let the kid sit like Mahomes did. Love Mahomes played at the end of the year, his first year, right? And when you're ready, then we go. Because what I'm saying is I could just see in Giant land a play here, a play there, right? You imagine, and listen, I know you could get hurt walking out of your house, fall down your stairs. I'm just saying I'm just not a fan of it because it's really not producing anything.
Yeah, well, I wish they at least gave him a series, but I think what happened was that they were down, and then in the second half, the Chiefs got the ball, and they were close. So I don't think that they trusted him getting a series. So, and at least to see what they could do with the ball, I don't know. I mean, everything was run pass option. So it just.
I think you have three. You had 4 options with him. A, to start him from game 1, which you didn't do, which I don't have a problem with. B, let him sit for as long as possible, as others have, right? The guy last night is the greatest example, right? Mahomes, okay. 3, okay, have a plan where you're going to say, all right, by week 6, this guy goes in. I just don't Excuse me. I just don't like what they're doing now. I really don't.
Well, it looks like it's almost like they don't have a plan with them
I
at this
think
point.
that's why.
Well,
I think you're 100% correct. They don't have a plan, and now you're making my point for me, which is this is like forced. Like we have to put him in. Let's put him in to give everybody a little taste, or let's put him in. And to me, it's not serving a big purpose. It's really not.
well, do you think that Winston comes in and Wilson takes a seat?
No, I don't think so.
So I think Wilson's your guy.
I don't. If they make a change, the fact that he made Dart the 2, I think that says it all. When a change happens, it will be Dart. I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, I don't know, what the plan is now. What even John Mara is thinking. Does he have to see Dable with Dart to evaluate him? And I just don't see how the coaching staff survives this.
Well, I don't see it either. I mean, it's just been putrid. And then if you look at the Dallas game, I guess it was an anomaly. And you look at that, it went out to, but who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened in football, but I mean, they have the Chargers coming in. They have a weird history. Of course, you go back to the Eli Manning trade and the Phillip Rivers. So,
yep, that always comes
Eli.
up.
Yeah, Eli Manning was drafted number 1, and he said he wasn't going to play for him. And then Rivers was drafted number 4. Both had great careers. Of course, Eli's got the 2 Super Bowls. I think that Rivers has the better stats. What's your take us back to the 04 draft and that? What was your thinking back then with that? With that,
you don't really want to know what I was thinking back then. Yeah. I actually was on record. This is crazy. It's 21 years ago. I wanted the Giants to draft Robert Gallery, if you remember. He was okay. The Raiders took him. He was an offensive lineman. He went high. I was not surprised. I mean, I'll never forget the day of the draft. I was with my wife. We were driving somewhere, and we were on the highway when the trade broke down. And I was surprised. You heard rumors, but you didn't think it was going to happen. Long story short, I think I think the Chargers, at the time San Diego, I think they got a guy who had a really good career, didn't get them a Super Bowl, but, Phillip Rivers was exciting to watch, very fundamentally unique in the way he threw the ball. And I have no regrets as a Giant fan.
No. Well, and also Rivers played 14 seasons. I think he had 8 Pro Bowls. I think he threw over 60.
Yeah, he had a great career.
So he definitely did, but just never got to the promised land. So, but going back to some of their matchups, so I remember being back in I guess it was 95. It was the last day, December 23rd, I think it was. It was 1995. Reeves was coaching in the Ice Bowl game. Do you remember that game?
Yes,
I was actually I was at that game. So, do you remember anything about that game? Because that was an interesting times, and I guess the one guy throwing the Ice Bowl was actually on the front page of the paper.
Correct.
And I guess he ended up getting.
It was an elderly gentleman on the sidelines for the Chargers.
Yeah, so he got hit, and I guess he was knocked out for 30 seconds. So it was a scary time. But I guess it was a Bobby Ross.
Bobby Ross years took him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's their one and only Super Bowl. So
yeah, Stan Diego Humphreys was the quarterback.
Yeah, it's Stan Humphreys, but but anyway, but interesting history with the Chargers and the Giants. So, but the one kid, I guess he was 26. He ended up getting collared. So, and then he had $1,000 fine, and I think that also there was, I think the San Diego Union Tribune, I guess the New Jersey Sports Expo, they also had an apology out in the San Diego Union Tribune.
For the snowball.
For the snowball, yeah. So
yeah, that was actually an ice ball. That was a big deal.
Yeah, and I think there were 5-11. That was Dan Reeves, back in Dan Reeves' year. So that was a interesting time. I think Sid Brooks, I think, was the equipment manager that got hit. But he was knocked out for 30 seconds, so it was a scary moment on the field. So, but
I'm actually hoping if the game, how about this? If this Sunday's game is that bad, maybe we could get somebody to knock me out for 30 seconds, or at least until the game is over. So,
yeah, well, I guess it'd save some time. But I don't know. It's just it's tough sledding. So, but just getting back to the game, I guess even the ref threatened Willington Mara to forfeit the game. So,
yep.
So, and I had a full apology. But going around the NFL, we talk about the 49ers. They're coming in later. Mac Jones 3-0. So here they are. Purdy's hurt, and then some franchises are able to figure it out. Of course, the Giants are not. So,
yep. Daniel Jones.
And then Sam Darnold, out in Seattle, he's playing well. Daniel Jones 3-0. He talked about it. And the Eagles. Did you watch the Eagles and the Rams game?
Yeah, they had a break there, but
so
they were lucky to win that game, but they won that game.
Yeah, and the
Good
Giants
teams find a way to win.
Yeah, the Giants are 0-3, third time in 6 years. So, what do you think Dable says today in the press conference? What words of wisdom do you think he has for the media and the fans?
I watched a little last night. He's going to give you, we got to be better. I don't think he's going to commit to anything with the quarterback. I'll be surprised if they make a switch this week. And, I think he's going to say today, tomorrow, what he said Sunday. We're just, it's just not good enough.
Yeah. Well,
I think almost to a point, what do you want the guy to say? Really? It sounds like every press conference is the same. We've reached that point.
Yeah. Well, I think that we're getting to a point where it's like, let them eat cake. The fans are chanting for Dart, and I don't know, they start them at home against a 3-0 team. That's a tough game.
Tough sledding.
Yeah, tough sledding. So, I mean, New Orleans, it's a away game. If they're both 0-4, might be a little bit better. But then what do? You have a short week next week with Philly coming in on Thursday night. So,
I'm waiting for you to ask me about what happened Saturday, because usually you end the show with that after we talk about it. I'm ready for you.
That's coming. So,
all right. I didn't want to jump the gun there.
Talking about your Red Bull. So, at Montreal on Saturday.
Montreal and old man, one of my all-time favorites, Tim Parker with a goal. So it was a 2-0 Red Bull victory. It keeps them in line for the last playoff spot, and a huge one on Saturday at home against the New York City Football Club, or as us Red Bull fans refer to as the Smurfs. So the Smurfs will be coming in Saturday night to Harrison. It's a big matchup, and a lot to play for if you're a Red Bulls fan.
Yeah, what do you think about any predictions in that game?
2-1 Red Bulls.
I think so.
Choupo-Moting from Forsberg for the go-ahead goal. Red Bulls 2, New York City 1.
And of course, he's onside, so he's not going to be offside.
Forsberg is never offside.
No question about it. So
the pride of Sweden, baby.
Yeah, came in. So, but what do you think? What's the their chances of making the playoffs?
Red Bulls, I think, very good. I don't think they're built to sustain any type of run this year, but we'll cross that bridge. I always say this: the MLS always gets what they want, which is you get to the end of the year and they have several teams fighting for the postseason, which is what they want, which makes it exciting, and that's what I think. A lot of same thing in the NFL when you have. Going into the last week of the season, you have so many teams eligible for postseason play. I mean, that's what they want. So,
yeah,
we had
last week of baseball too. So you got
last week of baseball. We'll see what the Yankees can do.
Well, I guess the Mets are so bad that they made the back page of the post, they're out of the playoff contention. So,
well, hold on though. To be fair, that's only because the Giant game was late.
no, you think so?
If the Giant game was early, they would be on, I think, the back page. So, let's not say. Let me just leave you with this. My last parting thought on the Giants.
Okay.
Remember, the Giants spent some money last year, right? So this is not a situation where you're kind of in a rebuild, so to speak, where you're going with some younger players. They spent money. They spent money in the secondary. They spent money on the defensive line. They spent money on the offensive line, trying to add some depth. They spent money in the quarterback room. If you were the owner, it's not money well spent at 0-3. Let's not forget that.
No, and it's got to be turning the stomach to see.
Absolutely.
As these home games go on, and you have away fans coming in.
Yep.
I'm cleaning out my basement last night, and I got the program from the 1990, Chicago Bears Giants
playoff game.
Playoff game. I have that, and I'm like, geez, if to bring those days back, but I don't know, but we'll see. I don't want to see anybody get fired, but there's got to be some sort of changes. There's got to be some. I mean, 2 out of 3 games, there's been no creativity. They scored 6 points and 9 points. I mean, you had the players. I could see if they had injuries or anything else, but you have a player like Neighbors who wants the ball. You give him the ball, like I said, screens.
Like you said, though, there's no creativity there. There's no creativity whatsoever.
So I mean, they almost look a loss. But with that being said, I guess last week of baseball. So depending on how football season goes, we might have to transition to baseball. But I'll let you take this out. But
we could always go to professional wrestling too. Remember that.
There's always professional wrestling. So I mean, and Dave's got Dave Sturcio, our producer, has a big event at Starland Ballroom coming November, Fight Factory. If you want to, for more, I bought one of his shirts. You can buy one of his shirts. But I'll let you take this out. This is episode 72. Dave Sturcio, Shop Sports Media, produced this show. Jerry, why don't you take 72 out?
All right, Jimmy, it was a good episode. We got to commiserate and analyze another poor New York Giant performance. Like Jimmy said, that brings a wrap for episode 72. We have a very exciting another game tonight. You get to see Lamar Jackson. New York Giants will have the Chargers coming in on Sunday, and you have the New York Derby on Saturday night at Sports Illustrated Stadium in Harrison, New Jersey. New York Metro Stars versus the New York City Football Club. That's right. They will always be the Metro Stars. That's a wrap for today. We'll see you next week. Take care. Goodbye. Thanks for listening. Have a great one.
Thanks, everyone.